So we're here today in Mayo to discuss a very popular subject, which is campervan conversions. So we decided to visit Old Boy Campers to find out more. Perfect. So Enda, if you want to just start us off with telling us how you got into this business.
Yeah, it was a bit of a random one. A friend of mine who's a musician here in Ireland, she got in touch and she was really interested about building a van, and she asked me would I get involved and give her a hand doing it. And we started researching it, and it just kind of grew from there. When we finished that van, I went on holidays for 3 months and started plotting it out to see if it could actually work here. And I came back and started the business, and that was about 5 years ago, and it's just been going really well since. So we love what I do, and it's a different challenge every day, but it's going really well.
And during COVID then, did you see any change to your business?
Absolutely, yeah. COVID was a huge impact on the business from various different angles. Actually, in terms of business generated, it's been huge. The amount of people getting in touch, inquiring about vans, even the amount of vans we're seeing on the road now has just gone like through the roof. It also brought some complications with importing and various other aspects of it, but generally it's been huge for the business.
Cool, that's really good. Yeah, as you said, we've seen a lot on the roads. So we'll get started. So if I was looking to go and purchase a van to bring to you, what should I be looking for?
It's a bit of a minefield in this country. The second-hand van market here, even pre-COVID, was difficult to be in, to be trying to find the van that's suitable for you. You're always making some compromises. Ultimately, you want a van that's been really well maintained. If there's a service history with the van that you can look over, that you know that it got what it needed when it needed it. The history of the van, I think, is also quite important. How is it used? Who is driving it? That kind of thing. It always provides useful clues around how the van was maintained. Then it's really kind of down to the person themselves and how they see themselves using the van, what space they need. Are they going to be going for shorter trips? Are they going to need to be getting into car parks? All these kind of aspects need to be come into it. You can spend, like, in terms of age as well, it really is down to yourself and your budget. You can get a 10-year-old van, you can get a 15-year-old van, as long as it's being maintained and you can use it, design it out inside, give it the attention that it needs. Or you can go a newer van as well. A lot of the late vans lately have been new vans, 2018 onwards to 21. So it really is, it's different for everyone. Each van and each build would be unique and individual to the person that would be using it.
So that's a van. So then if I wanted to buy an older camper van and renovate that myself, do I need to be careful?
Absolutely, yeah. The second-hand camper van market is even more precarious than the second-hand van market here. Generally, from my experience, is people don't really sell vans that are in good condition and working really well. On occasion, I suppose, family circumstance may change, but generally, I'd be very cautious about buying a second-hand van here in Ireland. You need to give the due diligence. I'd always recommend the initial inspection would be done by yourself, and then the second inspection you'd bring a mechanic or someone who knows exactly what they're looking for in terms of the engine of the van and the mechanical aspect of the van. It can be done, but you just need to be sure that there's a lot of history. I always think it's important to see if the people that have converted it, if they've converted it themselves, have pictures of the build in progress, so you kind of know what's going on underneath. And you know what kind of insulation's gone in and various other aspects of the build. So it is a tricky thing to buy a second-hand camper van in this country, but I think the best advice would be just to take your time. Don't rush in, because that's exactly when you run into some problems.
And you rush in, and you also might be looking at Instagram or other social media apps that give the illusion that you have to have this really cool looking van, and you have to have it has to be a particular colour and it has to be a particular style. But your advice would probably be to just be practical about it, size and shape and model.
100%. You really need to sit down and think about how you would be using the van and what you need to have in your van. There's a lot of inspiration, a lot of vans that you find all throughout social media that get a lot of traction. and they're amazing vans, but they're not suitable for everyone. Not everyone needs to go down that road and, you know, spend huge amounts of money on ultimately something that they'll be using in their own way. So, you know, it really needs to be planned out really well. That's the first bit of advice I'd give to someone once they've found the van. The next step is just to really sit down and plan it out. Even taking the van away for a weekend with an air mattress in the van and kind of being in the space and understanding how you'll be using it, it really makes a massive difference. It is tricky at times being in a small space, but if it's planned out well, it makes the whole thing a lot easier.
Yeah, so I buy the van, I bring it to you,
Yeah.
and do we sit down? What do we do to plan?
Yeah, so way before you bring the van to me, we'd have numerous conversations around your lifestyle, what you envision having and building and using. And then I'd be asking a lot of questions around where, whens, whys, and maybe try and get you thinking around real practical aspects of a build. A lot of other aspects come into it, hobbies, pets, you know, kids, all of these have to be considered at an early stage. From that then I would take that information away and I'd put together a quote for the work that would be done. Okay. Once that's agreed, then I would design up your van to scale in 3D so we could have a visual representation of exactly how it would look. You can get a feel for the space yourself, and then any changes that you kind of feel might be needed at that point, we'd make them. Then at that point you might bring the van to me and I'd start working on it.
Okay, so we're happy with the plan and then we leave it all to you. Is that right? You do absolutely everything?
Yeah, there's decision making definitely still to be done along the way. So I would send samples or I'd get an idea, or if the client knows themselves exactly what they want, that kind of makes it a bit easier sometimes, sometimes not. So I like to have the client be as involved as possible in the build, to be involved in a lot of the decision making, because ultimately it is their space when it's finished. Some clients like to step back and just let me build and create a van for them. And I think if we've got the earlier steps correct, then I'm quite confident and able to go and do that and deliver something that should be exactly in line with what they were looking for, a few surprises thrown in.
So what does the inside of a finished camper van look like? Well, we're going to find out. So I'm here in this finished one at Old Boy Campers, and you have your table here, your side table, your little bed or your couch, whichever, it depends on the size of the person, of course. You have your microwave, you have your little reading light here, and this is your heating system. Now this is run from the diesel in the tank, so it uses the diesel in the tank, so you're nice and cozy inside. Then you have your gas cooker, you have your lovely lightweight wood with your lovely detail here. You have your fridge down here and you have storage space, so you have all your drawers. Then you have your toilet in here, so nice and tucked away inside there. You have your little step up to help you get into bed, and then you have your lovely cozy bed with your lights, your little shelf here, and you have more storage space, shelves up above here. So it's really cool. The space is used really well and every inch is used wisely, as Enda said should be the case. You have really cool details here like your tiles, and then you have all your electrics along the wall here, and the tiles also prevent any splashing or any dirt that might come if you're cooking. Okay, so Enda, speak to me then about the cost. So if I brought my van to you, what can I expect from start to finish? And obviously we have to factor in the materials used and resources and things like that. So can you tell me about that?
Yeah, definitely. Every build is different. We custom build all our vans, so every build is different, so the costs do vary. But to give you an idea, the average van that we're doing at the moment is coming in at around 18 to 20,000 euros. Now this includes everything you'll need to be on the road, both on-grid and off-grid. Heating, plumbing, gas, certs, 240 volt electrics, 12 volt electrics, windows, roof lights, finish of your choice, layout of your choice, and there's lots of other aspects involved. But generally a starting point to get a van built in the country, you'd be somewhere between 18 and 20. Now, it does go up as well depending on where you're going, but that would be roughly where we would be at currently. Cost of materials and components and importing and everything has taken a turn for the worst after COVID, and costs have all gone up, materials particularly. But we try and cater for most budgets here, but a realistic estimation would be around that kind of price point.
Okay, so if I'm starting off, it is important to have a budget in mind.
Definitely, but I think the key thing is a realistic budget in mind. If you're going to be getting a van build, you really need to sit down with the builder and understand the costs involved at an early stage. When I do issue a quote, that would be the final price. There's no more fluctuation around that. So I think, once the quote has been reviewed and all the questions answered and signed off, that's the final cost that will be involved. I think it's really important for the client to fully understand the cost that would be involved going down this road prior to buying a van, or even maybe starting down the journey, because it can be quite expensive to get on the road. One of the aims here is to try and keep the costs down as low as possible and grow the campervan community in the country. I think we've got an amazing country to be exploring in vans. We do need more facilities in that, but I always try to aim for the cost not to be the deciding factor in someone being able to get out and enjoy it and see the country like that. So, Old Boy Campers does have a bit of a unique style in terms of van building in this country. We use a lot of lightweight wood. We do a lot of our work by hand, and we try and keep the vans as rustic and bespoke as we can. We don't use carpet in our builds, for example, on walls or ceiling. I think to really kind of summarize this, what we're trying to achieve is a small, tiny home, more so than a traditional campervan. And that's what's got us a big following here in the country, and that's what we love doing and our clients love, ultimately, at the end of the day, to have something that's unique, bespoke, and creates a nice warm feeling for them to be in the van and to be in the small space. We try and make it as nice as possible for them inside.